The Chinese culture as we know it stretches back 5 millenniums. Chinese history has witnessed the rise and fall of powerful emperors and the rule of warlords during times of chaos. China was first unified as a single country under the brutal first emperor, Qing in 221 BC. During his reign, he built the famous terracotta army. After his death, the government he created collapsed, only to be replaced by a new government, the Han Dynasty. During the Han Dynasty, China was rivaled only by the Roman Empire. The innovative Han also invented paper and a seismometer to indicate the location of a faraway earthquake. However, the Han Dynasty eventually fell in 220 AD, and China was plunged into a bitter civil war. Finally, in 581, a strong central government reunified China, the Sui. However, Sui rule also ended due to conscription to build the Grand Canal. The Sui was replaced by the prosperous Tang Dynasty. China remained stable for 400 years before China lapsed back into a brief civil war, after which the Song Dynasty ruled. During the Song Dynasty, the compass and gunpowder were invented. However, an ethnic minority known as the Mongols took power and China entered the Yuan Dynasty under Mongol rule. The Mongols set up their new capital in Beijing and went on to conquer the largest land empire in the world. Even so, Mongol rule weakened and the Chinese took power, and China entered the Ming Dynasty. The Ming Dynasty became corrupt and incapacitated as well. Soon the empire had succumbed to invasions by the Manchurians. The Ming was finally terminated and gave way to the Qing Dynasty. The Ming Dynasty was founded in 1368. The Ming Dynasty's name is a combination of the characters for the sun and the moon. It means bright and intelligent. During the Ming Dynasty, China's culture flowed and progressed. The Ming Dynasty is still famous today for its porcelain vases found throughout China and the world. Eventually, the Ming government became corrupt and the economy broke down, but it was not the Manchurians who crushed the Ming. In fact, the Ming Dynasty collapsed as a result of an internal peasant revolt. The peasants set up a brief and short-lived government called the Shun. But even as the peasant revolt was advancing on the capital, Beijing, Manchurian forces were headed in the same direction. The Manchurians, once many nomadic tribes, were united together by Nuer Hatzi. This time, the Manchurian armies were led by Taiji. Taiji took Beijing and proclaimed the Qing Dynasty in 1644. He ruled from the most splendid court in the world. His newly proclaimed government was not all-powerful yet. Not all of China was under Manchurian rule. The Chinese resistance fought hard to keep the Manchurians out. They held out in the south of China until the rule of Emperor Kangxi crushed the remaining resistance. Shunzi, the son of Taiji, succeeded him as emperor in 1644 when he was 6 years of age. Most of his life was spent reinforcing Manchurian rule in China. Since many Chinese were not accepting of the new Manchurian regime, the Manchurian armies were in a constant struggle to keep civil order. He put Manchurians in the highest official positions but kept many Chinese scholars to advise in court. Despite integrating Chinese elements into his government, there was still much dissidence and resistance. He worked hard to advance his armies and pacify the former Ming territories. During his reign, he increased research into sciences and philosophy. He also encouraged the economy and agriculture. As a result, Qing China emerged a stronger country than when he had inherited it. Shunzi's regime was comparatively short. He died at the age of 22 of smallpox. In his will, he deemed his son, Kangxi, as the next emperor. Kangxi is usually regarded as the greatest emperor of the Qing Dynasty. He is the longest reigning emperor in Chinese history, ruling a total of 62 years. He pacified and crushed all remaining Ming resistance and brought China's borders to its greatest extent. He fought hard to keep the now many ethnic minorities united under the Qing government. His agenda also included economic and social items. One item is the Grand Canal linking North and South China, which at this time was in great need of repair. Kangxi restructured and widened the canal until it was once again a traversable waterway. Even though the problem of the Grand Canal was resolved, the Yellow River continued to flood irregularly and caused widespread famine and devastation when it did. He ordered the construction of dikes and barriers to hold back the riverbank. In doing so, the floods of the Yellow River caused much less damage and destruction. Kangxi, like his father, encouraged the Chinese to participate in government alongside the Manchurians. Despite encouragement, some Chinese scholars refused to help the new government. Instead of having those scholars formally join the court, he had them compile one of China's most complete dictionaries. Soon the scholars found themselves taking on more and more responsibility and duties until they became full court officials. Kangxi often paid homage to the tomb of famous ancient Chinese philosopher Confucius. In doing so, he demonstrated that he was accepting the Chinese ways of life and Chinese traditions. Under Kangxi's rule, China entered a period of stability and China's culture expanded. Artisans could then practice their trade with many consumers to buy it. Soon Chinese goods became traded with foreign nations and found themselves in markets as far as France.